Mana Stone. Oh shit, Mana Stone. Okay, when did I check in last? Oh my! It's been 8 hours. What have I been doing? Oh, energy drinks. Why haven't you been invented yet? Me, no, my Mana Stone. You, EverQuest. You.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Drac, your resident WoW wizard, and we are here with the MMO 101, where we play MMOs and then we grade MMOs. And this is one of the funnest streams that we do. This is Grade Night, where we have been playing World of Warcraft Season of Discovery for 23 weeks. That's a long time for us. And now we're going to hand out some grades. We have some categories for tonight: grouping slash rating, races slash classes, quests, was it fun, Alex, for 200, other, and overall GPA. So yeah, it's going to be a great time tonight. Archbishop's already got alcohol, so it's going to be fantastic. Let me introduce the rest of my esteemed panelists for tonight. We have Erin Ellis. She hasn't met an MMO she doesn't like.
Wow, that's true.
Jack, you are getting scary good at the
Drac is
the
spicy.
sound of like the professional stuff that you do. It's a little bit creepy.
How do you feel about that, Ari?
I've
Have you met an MMO you didn't like?
I've left Erin Ellis speechless.
Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
She's muted.
The dog is in the background whining.
Dog.
But I could say that I did not really enjoy Lotro all that much. So
There we go. There's the
You
MMO
didn't
she didn't like.
enjoy needing your post-its all over your monitor?
There you go.
it was interesting at the time I played it. I would not go back and play it again though.
Tonight we're also joined by Zelik. He is the raddest raid leader that you've ever seen.
Thank
Did you make a script for this?
No, he came up with the rad raid leader all on his own.
I cannot. No, I cannot take credit for that. Somebody else came up with the rad leader after I realized that everybody else had a cool adjective in their title except for me.
We also have a Sarah. Normally she's the greatest healer in the land, but somehow she got the rabies, and so tonight she's got the illness debuff.
I'm out of mana. I can't heal myself tonight.
Ari's dog bitter.
Yes. And last but certainly not least, we have Essen. He is the greatest beer tank in all the land, and really just loved World of Warcraft Season of Discovery from beginning to end.
It had its highs.
The grades will tell the tale, sir.
The grades will tell the tale. All right, well,
grades are not always an accurate reflection of potential, though.
Yes. Also remember, the overall GPA is not an average of your grades. The overall GPA is just how we felt overall about playing the MMO World of Warcraft Season of Discovery in general. So here we go. Number 1, grouping slash rating. I don't know why I put myself first. That was not a smart idea. But here we go. I gave this an A+. I feel like this is the best that WoW has to offer. The MMOs in general. I think they do dungeons the best. I think they do raiding the best.
The best of what?
Out of all other MMOs, I think they're just the best at it. It's really fun. It's really engaging. It can be challenging, but it's not too challenging. Like, I feel like they really tune their dungeons well, and it's just a lot of fun. I love WoW dungeons. If I could just play WoW dungeons forever and ever and ever, it would be a lot more fun. So I gave grouping and rating an A+. Ari.
Okay, well, I gave it a B+. So it was good, but I thought they had a lot of opportunity to do something really unique with this server, and they could have done a better job. So yes, it was fun. I enjoyed it, but I am also slightly disappointed.
Slightly disappointed. Aranellis is looking at you with the furrowed brow. World of
Yes.
Warcraft.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Just disappointed.
That's worse. That's worse.
Thanks, Mom.
Every parent knows that's worse.
It's definitely worse. Rad Leader, what do you say? Grouping / rating.
So I'm going to preface this with I used the key that you gave us on the report card at the bottom when I was looking at these letters, right? So A being great, B being good, C being average, D being meh, F being bad. And if you give it the Nathan Napalm triple F minus, then it is just garbage. So using that grading scale and getting that out there for everybody so that we're all on the same page here, I gave grouping and rating a B. So there was not a week that went by that we couldn't fill a hole in the raid within like 15 minutes. Like it was really quick and easy to do that. By the way, Season of Discovery kind of incentivized going back by calling them leveling dungeons and just giving massive amounts of XP to the bosses for one tier below you. So if you were doing the tier 3 rating, you wouldn't get XP on the tier 1 dungeon, right? But if you would still get XP on the tier 2 dungeon. And so the idea that people were still going back and using that to help level during the next tier and then level their alts through it always made it easy to find somebody to group with, both in dungeons and the raids, which I think was awesome. The other thing, right, you brought up with the dungeons and in the raids too, like you can see in the clip that's being played right now, with the menagerie, the mechanical menagerie fight there. I think that the thought put into the mechanics and how you execute on the raids is pretty well done in WoW overall, regardless of whether it's Season of Discovery or not. I like that they kind of modified things a little bit, but not too much, right? Like Crowd Pummeler is massive compared to his normal size when you go in on a fight. They made him look like a raid boss, stuff like that. But I had to give it a B instead of an A because of the thing that I'm going to save, because I know Sarah is definitely going to talk about something that happened in tier 3, going from taking the grind from 40 to 50 that she and Essen were not a fan of, and I'm not going to steal that thunder, but that one thing is why I had to downgrade it to a B.
You put that in the grouping rating session because I had that in other.
Yeah, I put that, well, because it's part of grouping, right? The whole thing was
I
designed
guess.
for grouping for that, right? So yes, I put that in the grouping / rating instead of dungeons and rating. Like I added that grouping aspect to it.
I guess that's fair. Essen.
If you stayed in the raid the entire time, it would have been an A. The raids were great. I don't know why they chose Nomogram. Nobody likes Nomogram. They should have picked Moradon. Everybody likes Moradon. But the raids were very good. Like Drake said, the bosses were really well thought out. They were, I especially enjoyed the Crowd Pummeler fight where Aerie especially took some hits. Thank you, Aerie. Goodbye, Aerie. But otherwise, like, grouping was pretty terrible. And towards the end there, I mean, it's still going on, but like the entire last few weeks has been just like, hey, let's do princess runs. And you just run in, you skip as much as you can, you kill the princess, you kill the second boss, you like kind of cheat the game to log out, and just so you can do it faster and faster and faster. It's the grindiest dungeon grind that's ever dungeon grind. And that was terrible. And then for grouping, like you guys are saying, like the incursion quest, that was grouping. And that was the grindiest grind. It was much even grindier than the princess runs. It was god awful. God awful. So between an A and god awful is a C. Ish. Oh, one more thing. Wait a minute. No, this is why they get it. Okay.
There is no ish.
C-.
Is it C minus? Okay, C minus.
Now it's a C minus, because I also forgot that in order to fix their own screw up, they screwed it up even more, and they banned GDKPs, which is like we can't do dungeon. We can't figure out how to stop gold farming. Ooh, so we better stop the voluntary grouping that everyone loves to do so much.
Yeah, it's true.
I forgot about the GDKP ban, but I never really was a GDKP guy to begin with.
Yeah, but it's super popular and people love it, and it makes sense. It's really smart too.
Yeah. So, I believe Mr. C said sometimes you don't want all the holes filled. No.
Pineapple.
No. Just let me play the damn game. Yeah, this is our grading stream. So after we get done playing an MMO for a period of time, we do grading. So even if you may not particularly like the MMO, you might like the grading stream because we hack on some features that we don't like as we grade. So it's always a good time. All right, Sarah, grouping / rating.
You guys are super long-winded. A-. It's the only part of the game with like any kind of mechanics or challenge, and it's the only part where I had fun. A-.
Short
To the point.
and to the point.
That's a B+. That's big.
All right, races / classes. I had to give this an A-. 1, no wizard. That is like a fail. You cannot have an MMO without a wizard. And 2, I'm not a huge fan of the WoW races. I just never have been. I like the evil races that we chose over the.
They're not evil.
I'm sorry. I like
the alliance of the evil ones.
I like the horde races. Over,
there you go.
Over the alliance races, but I'm not a huge fan of either. Yeah, it's just they're not inspiring to me. So I gave it a B on races and classes. They're okay, but they're not my favorite.
How did you go from no wizard is a huge fail and they're okay to a B?
I mean, they're not completely horrible, so it's fine.
I feel like your grade is way too high, sir.
Way too high.
I to school, right? There are teachers that give A's to everybody.
I tend to be a pretty favorable grader in all these. So yeah.
So we've all had our Essens and our Drax in our educational experience.
You want to be in Drax class, not so much Essens class. Harry, races and classes.
Races and classes. So it's classic. They didn't do anything special. They didn't add anything interesting in. It's just the same stuff from retail classic. So I was like, this is, you can't even grade that. It's just blah. So C.
There you go.
Nah. That's how I feel about it.
Zelik, races and classes.
I too gave it a C. If we had been playing Vanilla WoW, not Season of Discovery, I would have given it a higher grade, right? I feel like I really liked the races and classes in general in World of Warcraft. I mean, some of them are a little cheeky, some of them are a little cheesy, some of them are just fun, right? Maybe not every race is for everybody, but I thought they have a really good job at the race class balance. But Season of Discovery, they made it very clear that they were breaking a lot of norms and doing a lot of crossover things and bringing different elements from different eras in. Like when they brought, the runes in, giving you talents from expansions that weren't even on the server, but they couldn't give us blood elves. They couldn't give us space goats. Like, we can cross multiple expansions for everything else, but we're going to lock you into the initial races, which had more than just my bias in there, right? That also meant no shaman for the Alliance.
Yeah.
That also meant no paladins for the Horde. And with Season of Discovery, and with all of the things that they could do with the race class combinations, and we're breaking outside to pull in some of the best elements of Burning Crusade and some of the best elements of Wrath of the Lich King, except with races and classes. No, we're not going to do that there. So I had to downgrade it to a C, almost a D for that.
Ooh. Very upset. Essen, races, classes.
First of all, I enjoy that I can still be a racist when it comes to MMOs. So I will be saying that some races in MMOs are better than others, and it can't be denied.
You don't
And I
get to
agree
say
that the
that. You
horde.
signed a thing when you logged in last time.
Oh, I did. I did sign the social contract that I was forced to sign
That
in
social
order to
contract
play.
only applies while you're logged in.
I'm sure it doesn't. God help us. But I will say that yes, the horde races are better than alliance races. When you got the gnomes are just a big anchor, if you ask me. But anyways, I in terms of like races, it was whatever. It's standard, which is fine. Classes, I thought they did a great job with the classes. I thought the runes really mixed things up. More importantly, they made almost every spec viable. Not every spec is always going to be viable. There's going to be the cookie cutters and the leaders, of course, like that. But like melee hunter was a thing, and that's not possible, right? Arcane mage was still not a thing, but you can't blame them for that. That's just
Except for shaman, they were just the best at everything all the time.
shaman are always,
Mean.
shaman are always best at everything.
What can
But
I say?
yeah, I mean they made almost every spec viable and interesting. They made even specs that were normal interesting. They made bear tanking possible, which shouldn't be possible. Druid made Druid as a class possible. In vanilla, you got to remember that balance, resto, bear, and feral were all trash. Druid was trash in every single spec. They sucked. And in this, they were at least playable. And that's
Really, in
a
classic, the
compliment.
only reason to make a druid was PvP.
PvP and like
Flag
Mark of the
running.
Wild. Right.
Yes,
Just like the
you have
Mark
to
of the
have your
Wild
mark of the
buff.
wild.
Yeah, I mean
You
that's
need your token
really
druid.
scraping the bottom of the barrel there. Just Mark. It's like there really wasn't a good reason to roll a druid. And like the whatever, the battle res. But
Yeah.
not a great reason. But so for all that, they made every spec pretty viable. I give it a straight A.
Whoa!
Wow.
I am nothing if not fair and apparently racist. In MMOs only. Only in MMOs.
All right.
Does that mean you're fairly racist?
In IRL, I'm just regular racist like everybody else.
Sarah, races and classes.
You are all so long-winded. D-, no blood elves.
Ooh.
That's what I'm talking about, Sarah. Thank you.
D-, no blood elves. Wow, you like the blood elves that much, huh?
Yes.
They were easily the best race that has ever been put into World of Warcraft to
Yes.
date across
Not only
retail
because
and classic.
pretty, but also because their storyline is hilarious. And their zones are the prettiest for the starting zones anyway, and yeah.
Mhm.
Blood elves rule.
I'm looking forward to not the War Within, but the one after the War Within, the expansion after the one coming out this year, because that's the one that's featuring all of the elves and the elf story.
I mean, you really can't go wrong with cracked out
Meth
snooty
elves. Yeah.
meth
What is
elves.
it,
Yeah.
Tal'Darai?
Yeah. That's hilarious. I love their storyline.
Yeah.
I love how hardy they are. I
Yeah.
do enjoy that.
And the language is cool. Like when I was playing WoW back in the day for real, me and a friend of mine that played regularly, we could like talk to each other in like Blood Elf in real life.
Nice.
That's how nerdy I am.
I love that.
I married you.
Oh, okay.
That's right up there with like being able to speak Klingon to your date.
Yeah.
That's my Jimmy Jam.
Drax loves them hitting buttons.
Hitting the buttons. All right. Well, let's move on to quests. This is where I have a bone to pick with World of Warcraft because World of Warcraft is literally the mother of quest hubs, and it's awful. It's horrible. It inspired every other MMO from this point forward to do this awful system, and I hate it. And so it gets an F. It doesn't get a triple F minus just because you know, they're well written, they're well done, but it's just an awful way to do questing in an MMO. I want my quest to mean something. I want to actually care at least somewhat about quests. And in WoW, there is no point at which I care about any quest other than clicking through the thing as fast as possible to get to the end. And I barely care about the reward I get from the quest because I'm probably searching for a dungeon drop anyway. So it's horrible, and there's really no reason to even have it in the game. They should have figured something else out. So F for me.
Wow. So I will point out though that you did say that you want to care about quests.
I do want
this is an improvement for you. This is from the man who was all too eager to join does not read quest text.
I mean, I like quests. I like epic quests. I like doing quests that get me gear that improves my character that I remember. I did the Steina Magog quest before anybody knew about it, and I sold that thing for so much gold. Like it was, I sold probably.
That's why he liked it.
I probably sold 50 of them. I had more gold than I knew what to do with from doing that quest. I like the profitable quest, or whatever, right? But I like. There are no quests like that in World of Warcraft. There are no quests that are like, oh, well, you do this quest and then you get something, and then like this is your piece of gear for the next 20 levels. Like that doesn't happen anywhere along the way. So F. Bad.
F.
Airy.
For fun.
Go.
Right?
I was not quite as hard on them about that, though all your points are very valid. The questing in World of Warcraft is absolutely monotonous and pointless, other than to get experience. I gave it a C+, just because I expected that anyway, because I've played WoW before, so I knew what I was getting into. But they did add a few new ones for the runes and stuff, which, kind of changed it up a little bit, so you get that little plus on there for new quest. But it's just
Ari, I'm just imagining you on dating apps right now with your very low expectations, and you're like, well, I was expecting that anyway.
that is my problem. The bar is down
I was
here.
looking at your profile and I expected you to be a turd anyway, so you get a C+.
Yeah, right. Yes. I already. Oh my god.
You might have to start running your dating profile stuff through a Sarah from now on.
I'll swipe for you.
She's gonna have you see your dating profile.
All right, Zelik, quests.
Well, I'm going to have, I think, the contentious grade in this one. I'm going to start by saying I enjoy well done quest hubs. Now,
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say that is true, sort of. But here's what I like.
If I were to have an answer for that question, I think that would be very strange.
So here's what I'm going to say. I like the idea that all of the settlements have their own problems and their own things going on. And there are stories. I think the thing that people miss is that the stories and the lore are localized. Very few of them contribute to a larger meta plot. But like when you go to Desolace and you start questing with the Centaur, you have to pick a faction. You have to choose one of the two opposing clans and you start helping them and you earn reputation with them and you get to do more quests with them. And this is a theme that's actually kind of throughout all of it, throughout all of WoW, is that there is a story. The problem is that the story is not really well connected to the meta. The overarching plot sort of moves on and leaves all the villages behind. And so these quest hubs, they get very stagnant and their lore becomes meaningless and it sort of dies, right? As Nax Ramus gets unlocked, nobody else in the world seems to care. when Naxxramas gets unlocked. Oh, by the way, all this crazy stuff just showed up. We got these floating pyramids from space filled with like aliens and demons and things like that. Nobody else seems to even notice. You would think that would be global news, right? And so the issue is they sort of just abandon those quest hubs after they're created. But those quest hubs, they take you all over the zone. It's not like you go to the one spot. You know, look at the Barrens. When you're in the Barrens, you cover every damn square inch of that huge ass, way too big zone. Right? When you go to Thousand Needles, you're climbing up and down every other freaking spire in that zone, and you're going to explore all of that zone. And you're going to see everything that zone has to offer. And I like that you can go to where the people are, where the settlements are, and you can learn more about the locality. I just wish it had a bigger meaning than just right there in that moment. And all your other points, Drac, Airy, 100% valid. At the end of the day, unless you're really into like the localization lore, you don't care about it for anything other than the XP. And they made it the most efficient way to level. And so it does detract from it in that sense, but not enough for me to downgrade it to a B. So I gave it an A.
Oh my.
Not an A minus, an A.
I didn't do pluses and minuses this time.
Oh my. Okay, Essen, quests.
Well, to go on what Zelik just said about, the localization and like the world events. I mean, it's not SOD, but they did that in Cataclysm, and they spent obviously a ton of money redoing the entire world, which I would hope they would do that for years. Before that, I was like, they should just redo the whole world. That'd be amazing. They spent a ton of money redoing all the quests, and the quests were like super intricate and interesting and funny, and they're all like had to do with a global event going on, or a lot of them did, and you play through it once and you're like, oh, this is terrible. Because it was so hyper focused, it was so on the rails. There was no room for any differentiation or to experience anything different. Like, it's an MMO, everything is supposed to be different every time you play. But with that, it was like a single player RPG, and it got real boring real fast. They was well done, but it was too on the rails. But questing for SOD, Jesus Christ. I don't know. So many people pay money to kill themselves, but they found a way to make it marketable. The incursion quests, first of all, made all other questing completely worthless and useless. The rewards were wildly better. It was wildly faster and wildly more boring. But you had to do it because it outstripped everything else by 1,000 miles. And people came up with an add-on for it because, of course, they did. God bless them. That made it easier to do, but that made it even more boring because everything is automated, and it was the worst experience I've had in an MMO. And I played through the lag of Lord of the Rings. Even after dying in the piss, this was worse. Because incursions just changed the game. Where it's like there was even like everything but raiding. It was just raiding and incursions, great and terrible, great and terrible. And you spent 90% of the time doing terrible and 10% of the time doing great, and it was just god awful. And there's one more thing, but I forgot it. Oh, of course, right? They skyrocketed the gold rate for incursions. So the people who did it for the first like day and a half made like thousands of gold. And then they dialed back the rewards, and so they cut off that reward program. So the people who just started it like had way more money than everybody else, and it completely obliterated the economy. Just like that, gone.
Yeah, that was the end of the economy on SOD. It was after that it was nuts.
Yeah, and the only way they can fix it is by inflating it more. Like, that's the only way to fix it. It's like, not great, guys. Not great. So I gave it somewhere between, a skull of death and a black hole. That's not great.
Our first triple F minus of the night.
There it is.
That's being generous.
And the triple F minus got hidden behind an ad break too.
Yep. Sure did.
All right, it's Sarah.
I gave it a D minus. I said quests are pointless. They're less XP than the stupid incursions. They're just quest hubs, and you just rinse and repeat. Like, go kill this thing and come back and talk to me, and then go kill the little mini boss in the same area, and then come talk to me again, just like any quest hub. So, quest hubs, I agree, are the bane of MMOs. The only reason that it has a score higher than an F or a triple F minus is because I didn't really count incursions in this section, first of all. And then, second of all, I do think that WoW does have, like what Zelik and Drac, and I can't remember if Barry said it, but what some of y'all have said is that WoW does write quests well, and they are fun. Like I remember, not in SOD, but in playing WoW before, like getting the Twinkle Starlight unicorn mount or something, and the quest storyline to get that mount was so freaking funny. Like I was laughing out loud reading this quest and doing it, and I felt that way questing in WoW before. So that's why it doesn't have a garbage score. But I did not feel that way playing and saw it this time, especially once Incursion showed up. So D minus.
Yeah, that quest was in Cataclysm after they reworked the world.
Mm-hmm. Twinkle something is the name of the mount.
Yeah.
That's quest line's hilarious.
You don't get that mount. The guy just had the quest, the NPC has the mount. I'll tell you a little funny story about that mount.
No,
You buy
I
that
did
mount
get
in the
the
cash
mount.
shop. You buy that
No,
mount in the cash shop.
I got the mount.
Yeah, I bought it for you in the cash shop. And that one mount made more money than all of StarCraft 2.
I believe it.
Yep.
Well, there's a lot of quest lines in WoW that are interesting, that are funny. Yeah, that's why it's not F, but they do a bad job implementing them, especially when they break them when they introduce things like incursions.
Was it fun?
Yeah.
Was it fun? So this is like my one of my most important ones. And for me, WoW's pretty fun. It's better than your average MMO. We're not in like I'm not sure, I can't even remember what this group has played, but I've personally played some pretty awful MMOs. Like we did some bad ones. But this isn't bad. WoW is the reason why it's what held the title for the biggest MMO for so long is because it is put well together. It is well thought out. Like it's well designed. It's just not my thing. And the dungeons are really fun, but also it feels like a treadmill. Like you're force feeding. Like I'm a hamster on a wheel, and I'm just running around the circle over and over and over again. And just let me play the damn game said earlier. I just wanted to mention this. Stop min-maxing and have fun. Like, maybe for some people that you can do that. I cannot personally do that. Like, if it's there, I'm going to do it because I have to, because I have this inner need to not be the guy that's left behind doing it the slow way when everyone else is doing it the fast way. I just can't do that. And so what I need for you to do as the maker of an MMO is to fix it so that doesn't happen. Because I don't want to do that, but I feel like I'm forced to do that. That's actually one of my big problems with Pantheon right now is like there's all kinds of exploiting going on in Pantheon. And Pantheon's a little different because it's pre-release, it's way early still, but there's lots of exploiting going on. And I don't want to be put in the position where I want to exploit to get levels, but everyone else, it feels like, is doing it. Every time I log in, I'm watching other people exploit. And then I'm just like, well, yeah, but and they're gaining levels way faster than I am because they're exploiting. So that it feels really bad to me when that happens. And so I give it a B minus. It's fun, but feels like a treadmill. Scary.
All right, so I gave it a B in the beginning, but a C eventually. Because it was new, it was exciting. We were trying something out. We got all these the runes and everything going on. So I was like, this is cool, this is cool. And then the WoW kicked in and it just got monotonous.
And then wow. And then it wowed.
And then it
It
wowed.
blizzarded is what it
They,
did.
they blizzard. No. They
Activision.
No,
Activision
it
did.
Activision. It
Yep.
didn't
Yeah.
Blizzard, it Activision.
So is it fun? Yes. In short bursts. And that is what keeps me coming back to retail and to this is they put out something new and it's fun for a couple weeks. Yay, let's try all this new stuff out. And then it goes back to being WoW. And then I quit.
I mean, that's a cycle for a lot of people. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
that
I
do
mean,
that.
there's a name for that cycle now. It's called raid logging. You log in for your raid and you log back out, and that's the only time you play the game,
Oof.
right? You go through the story, you try out the content, and then after
That's
that, you
fun.
log in once a week for your raid, and then you're done.
I mean, that's not specific to WoW though. I mean, the
Yeah.
EQ,
No, it's not. But I mean,
EQ2 does that too. That's you get to that point where there's no content to do. All you really have is
Yeah.
raids.
But that's my point. Is it's so prominent that like there's a term for it now. It's just raid logging. That's it.
Right. No, that's good. All right, Zelik, was it fun?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, that's actually the word I put, I think, on the
Mostly.
remarks that I sent you was mostly,
Mostly
right?
fun.
So, I think phase 2 was more fun than phase 1. So phase 1 was awesome because everything was new, everything was exciting. It was, all about trying to find, well, what are all the runes? How do the runes work? Speculating on what some of the really cool builds you're going to be able to do are going to be in there. You've got things like, oh, by the way, mages can be healers. And, I don't care what all of the meta and the charts said about mage healers. Every time we got a mage healer in our raid, they kicked ass and they were a ton of fun. And instead of Asera doing, 75% of the lifting, and our pug healer before we got Feasty, doing maybe 25% if we're lucky, and relying on my self-healing as a warlock drain tanking to fill in those gaps, to having mage healers shooting their purple healing lightning bolt things everywhere and keeping everybody up and making it look like, like an equal share, an equal lift, right? And so, you had, I didn't see much of this, but rogues could tank. Right, being able to be a warlock tanking in vanilla was a lot of fun once I could get my metamorphosis rune. I think that the rune system really changed the game in a way that brought a lot of excitement to it. And then phase 2, they added they said not Sunken Temple, Black Fathom Deeps was now a raid zone. It was a 10-man raid, and I'm like, what? Right? It was one of my favorite zones, and you get to go in there, and it's the same zone, but they kind of tuned it up and they made it a raid, and it was a fun raid to do. And then they added some new gear, some new drops that were also really cool to these. So it kind of really freshened and livened things up. And then in phase 2, they said, oh, by the way, we're going to add more runes to more slots to really further expand what you can do with a character in this game and what it means to play a particular class in WoW. And we're going to add another dungeon. And oh, by the way, you're going to be able to get XP all the way to level 40 on the first dungeon that we made. And then on top of that, we're going to add some other cool, fun things like the sleeping bag. Right? Like all this stuff that they kind of said, hey, we're going to do some stuff. We're going to make it fun. We're going to make it fresh. And then phase 2 died too fast. Phase 2 is so short-lived compared to phase 1. And then they jumped right into phase 3, which feels like it's been going on forever. And phase 3 had like no real innovation to it at all. It's like, well, we got a lot we're looking at doing for phase 4, and we're going to probably do more of the raids past that. We're going to need to start working on that early. And I'm hoping that this is their justification. But like phase 3 has been dragging on for far too long. And then the lining it up with the launch of Cataclysm Classic was really bad, because now, whether the rumors of the team being split between working on Cataclysm and working on Season of Discovery are true or not, it doesn't change that they also sort of, from a non-compete standpoint, staggered it out even more. Like, Phase 3 is so over and dead, nobody has a reason to log in and play it anymore. And so that brought it down for me. Like, I got bored. I had fun during Phase 1, I had fun during Phase 2. Phase 3, I did my incursions, I got to max level, and then I started raid logging. And raid logging's not fun. And then I got bored. So I gave it a B. It's mostly fun. I think that Season of Discovery specifically had a lot of cool new stuff to offer, but then they just sort of drug it on and let it die.
Okie dokie. Essen, was it fun?
The raids were fun. The new raids were fun. Definitely. There's no even Nomergon was kind of fun, and that's Nomergon. All right, so raids are pretty good. However,
Hold on,
if you look at
how do you clip?
well, they for Nomergon, it's fair. But like, if you look at like the map of Azeroth, right, both continents and vanilla, it's huge. It's a huge world, right? It's like one of the biggest in any MMO, to date. At the time, let's say, classic. And you look at it and you're like, wow, all that content completely obliterated by these incursion quests. All of it. You had cities, and you had Ashenvale, and then you had the raids. Oh, sorry, and Booty Bay, I guess. But like, the entire game was turned into like a hub game. What are they called?
Live service.
What are those? What is it? What are they called?
Live
What's
service
the
game?
word? No, what's the word that Pantheon had? Extraction?
Oh,
Yeah,
extraction mode.
It was kind of like, but like it was like a lobby game, is what it is.
Oh, lobby game, yeah, 247.
Yeah, it was like, you go to the main cities, you go to Booty Bay, you go to Ashenvale, you go to wherever the raid is, which in Nomergon's case was just Booty Bay. You just jumped in and out of there. Like, the raids were good, and everything else was terrible or useless. Terrible or useless, and the raids were good. So like, overall, when you look at the entire game, I have to give it a D. Was it fun? D, because like, it destroyed the game.
Sarah, was it fun?
It was fun because I was playing with you guys. And the raids are fun because that's the one place where WoW puts effort and mechanics, and that is actually challenging. And I agree that those are like some of the most fun raids that I've done. So those are fun. Hanging with you guys is fun. And yeah, that's mostly it. We couldn't do PvP in SOD because there weren't enough people doing it, and at the end it was just like dead. The incursions are the literal worst thing. Like, it's we knew, like, as soon as we heard that incursions were going to be a thing, S and I were both like, well, there goes the game. Like, that's it. It's destroyed now. And it was. In fact, it was a fact. And it's really sad because I was coming into this whole thing very excited for the possibilities of what they could have done with this whole thing. And instead they just took a big crap on it and didn't do it. So, it could have been really fun. Oh, and also the did I say this in this note? I said this in other. Runes sounded fun in theory, but I didn't feel like they actually did much, at least for the class that I played. I enjoyed the class that I played, but I don't think it was really because of the runes, and they were also a huge pain in the ass to get. So like the big like feature for SOD was just kind of not a big feature for me. So mostly I had fun because I played with y'all and because the raids have fun mechanics, so I gave it a C.
Do you feel like at the end at season or whatever was it season 3? Do we feel like they had too many runes at that point? Like everything had a rune slot. That's kind of how I was feeling.
I just
Nah.
I felt I think it would have been more interesting if I had had more options for like which runes to choose. Instead, it was like, well, that's the rune that I need, and that's the one I have to go get. Like it was basically handed to me, and there was no choice. There was no variety.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the problem with WoW in general, right? Everything's
Mhm.
so min-maxed by the community that like you feel like you have to slot certain things. Also,
It wasn't even a min max thing though. It was like I'm a healer. There's my healing rune. The end.
oh, the end.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind
true.
of. Also, you
So like,
mentioned
are you talking? You're muted if you're talking,
you
sir.
mentioned
Sorry.
you mentioned PvP. They left out the most important map in PvP.
Oh my god.
What
They
in
gave
the
us
heck?
Yeah.
Warsong Gulch, but they couldn't give us AV. What are you doing with your lives?
Altier
I don't like
Valley
AV
is
could have been like
Jeez. It's the best map. It's the best PvP battleground.
It is the best PvP in Classic WoW.
like it's the dumbest one, but it's the best one by far.
It's the best
Well,
one.
and here's the thing, right? There's no good reason to save that for Phase 4. None at all.
None.
Number one, it was a level 40 battleground, right? You got level 40 in Phase 2. Number two, they still didn't give it to you in Phase 3. And Phase 3 had nothing really fun to do. And then what are they going to do? They're going to save it to Phase 4 when it's like, oh, by the way, we're going to have Molten Core. Awesome. We're going to have, Blackwing Lair. Awesome. We're going to have Onyxia. Awesome. We're going to have Naxxramas. I say awesome. And then, oh, by the way, also Alterac Valley. Like, that's too much packed into one phase.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to save, dessert for, or, to save like one of the only sort of desserts that you could have with the second and the third meal to pile it onto dessert day at the end and have nothing at the end of, at the end of Phase 2, or to just completely have nothing at all for Phase 3.
Yeah, it's dumb. AV is dynamic content that's always good all the time, and just like it'll be good through Phase 3 through 5.
And
It'll be
It's
good even
Phase
like into
1
PBC.
proves it.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
Look at how many people actually went in and did well after they would have hit, revered. And Exalted wasn't even a thing at this point. But during Phase 1, look at how many people went and did the Ashenvale PvP event. I actually enjoyed waiting for that thing to go off and going and participating in the Ashenvale PvP event. I had more fun when the Alliance showed up at one of our bosses, rather than trying to race and see who could get there first in the early phases of it. You'd have Alliance camping, your bosses waiting for you, and you had an actual like battleground thing going on.
Yeah, they should
that
have
was
leaned
awesome.
into that instead of incursions. That would have been way better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
God.
I mean, but that's exactly what AV is. That was like a mini AV.
Yeah.
And it was super successful.
Yeah.
Like there were always people looking to do that.
AV is the
That's-
best PvP for people that don't like PvP because
Yes.
I'm just the guy that doesn't like PvP. I don't know all the counters to every move. I just want to sit in the back and kind of cast my fireball on guys that pop up on my screen, right? And
You just want to play Duck Hunt?
I just want to play Duck Hunt,
Yeah.
okay? And I suck at it. Admittedly, you can come. Every rogue's gonna kill me. It's fine. I don't care. But I can sit in the back, and there's a giant horde of people, and I can just pick a couple of guys, and I'm gonna blow them up, and it's super fun for me, even though I suck at it. So I don't have to be in Warsong Gulch where if I die, the opposing team is gonna score 4 times because I didn't carry my weight on the team. Like I don't feel like I'm dragging everybody else down. So I don't understand the Alteric Valley, why it's not in. It's so dumb.
I just have a question for us, Sarah. Are you the dog that like pops up and laughs whenever Drac misses?
That is totally who I am in PvP. Especially on my hunter. I'm just like, haha, miss me. Yep.
Clipped. All right. Moving on. Other. So I put in other something you guys had touched in that kind of everybody's touched in. I felt the cadence for this for Season of Discovery was off. Like the time in each season, like season 1, and maybe it's just because we started a little late, but season 1 seems short. Season 2 seems super short, and then season 3 is still going on, and I'm like, dude, what the heck is like what's going on? I don't even like this is forever. So I just felt that that was not a great feeling, the pace of it, but also just like I never felt like in MMOs I want the drive to like what am I getting at the end of the thing, right? And that's my general issue with World of Warcraft in general because there's so much content and there's so many levels to blow through and it's such a short time between the time when they bump up to the next level and then all your gear is worthless. And so it's like you never really get like gear that you're like, "Oh, this is amazing and I'm going to keep it for a long period of time." And I really hate that feeling of like, "Oh, well, I got this piece of gear and it's the best piece of gear that's in the game." But in 2 weeks it's going to be crap. Like there's going to be greens around the corner that are going to be better than what this is. And and I always know in the back of my head, I'm like, ugh, this sucks. Because my purple thing that I rolled a 97 the first time in, 6 months I've actually rolled a decent number. And I finally got one good piece of gear. But it doesn't matter because it's going to suck in 3 weeks. And so the drive for me to like log back in and to grind dungeons is low because I'm like, well, what? It doesn't matter. In 2 weeks, I'll just go I'll just go run the next dungeon that'll be 10 levels higher and I'll get better gear. So it's
That's a huge point.
it really makes WoW hard for me because of that. So I gave it a C minus. Other Aaron Ellis.
Well, I think most of what I was gonna say for other has already been covered. My grade for other was incur my wrath because I wanted to talk about incursions, but we have already covered that. So I'm just gonna say that it goes C, so you don't have to do anything and just
Nice.
let it go from there.
All right. The other has incurred Aaron Ellis's wrath. Zelik.
I am the Santa Claus grader, I guess, on this stream. I gave this one an A. An A for effort, an A for the ideals, no, sir, not a C.
I'm working on it.
For as small as this team is rumored to be, I think the number I've heard is 6 people working on Season of Discovery, which is a really small number for something of this scale. I feel like a lot of balance was always being done. There was always balance being done. There was always updates being pushed out. I'm forgetting his name at the moment, but the lead developer for the Season of Discovery stuff was always active on Twitter, and not only was he active there, but he was responding not just by replying to people's tweets or posts or whatever, but actually implementing changes based on the voice of the community. Like there was an effort to listen and adjust. They heard there was a problem. They went back, they looked at it, they saw, oh, there is a problem, and they fixed it. And they were always trying to play with class balance. Maybe it wasn't always super successful, but if you go back and you look at all of the charts for, like the 25 man or the 10 man raids and even the Sunken Temple, which we didn't get to, 20 man raids, every week after a drop or every couple of weeks after a drop, there were the charts were adjusting, the charts were changing as people were getting their classes tweaked and as they were learning how to do the new mechanics. Definitely had a part to play in that too, but again, there were new mechanics. So I feel like there was a lot of effort from a really small team that really went a long way towards trying to innovate some way to put a fresh spin on Classic to make it fun and exciting. Even if it wasn't the reason you subscribed, right? Because, this is not a Season of Discovery specific thing, but one sub gets you everything, right? It gets you retail, it gets you classic, it gets you hardcore, it gets you Season of Discovery. So even if Season of Discovery wasn't the reason you were paying, there was enough to say, hey, this is something different. This is something that stands out. And there's a team that's trying, that was evident that they were really trying to put something good out there. Did they make mistakes? Absolutely. Will I agree with everything
Incursions.
Essen and Asera said and Gary said about the incursions? 100%. Right? I was one of those people. I was like, oh, the gold is through the roof. I'm on a work trip and I'm staying up late at night in my hotel room because I know this is going to get nerfed. Right? Like anybody with a half a brain knows they're going to nerf this because you're getting so much gold. I got to log in and get all this gold right now before the nerf hits. Right? Sacrificing sleep for that. But and they fixed they fixed it, but they didn't retroactively correct for their mistake. That's fine. Maybe you don't go delete other people's gold.
Yeah, you
Maybe
can't do that.
you don't
That's
fix
hard to
it.
do. That's super hard
Right.
to do.
You can't do that.
Maybe you don't fix it. You acknowledge, hey, we screwed up, but we now don't want to disadvantage the people who couldn't log in on a Thursday night to go play or whatever night of the week that was, Wednesday night, Thursday, whatever it was, who, who couldn't go and do it right then and there in those first few hours. So, yeah, mistakes were made. Absolutely. Very small team, very phenomenal effort, a lot of really great ideas. Some of them executed very well. I'm going to give them an A.
All right. A it is. Essen, other.
I hadn't thought about it, but Jack, what you said made a lot of sense about the cadence of the game. Like, I agree. It felt kind of stupid even to do raids when all the gear is going to be replaced in like a week. Like, why do I care? Why would I even do it? So, especially if I've already done it once, like, why would I do it a second time to get better gear? It's going to be replaced in the next raid in a week. Like, what's the point? So, like, if they had done it where, like, the chapters or whatever they are, God knows what they're called now.
Pumpkins.
What are they called? Pumpkin? Whatever.
No, that's our made up word.
If the seasons or whatever
Seasons
were like super short, like 2 weeks each, you got like 300% experience about the entire time. Loot dropped, 5 times as much. So a boss died, it dropped like 5 pieces of really good loot. So everyone got loot like every time almost. Like if you had like way bumped up the loot, way bumped up the experience, and just like sped up the game, that would have been great. But instead, it's like, oh, it's an old school MMO, but it's like kind of slow and it's kind of fast, but you have to wait, but you shouldn't wait, and then you have to wait, but you can't wait. So here's the incursions, and it felt like a whole bunch of half measures and no real decisions were made, and it made the gameplay frustrating. Overall, like the big other for me is that it feels like there was no testing done whatsoever, or if there was, it was very little testing done. It feels like the whole thing was done by the seat of their pants. I mean, Blizzard's whole thing used to be we take other people's ideas and we make them better. And we took other people's ideas and we slapped it together with maybe 6 people, which, like, credit to those 6 people, but what the hell is Blizzard thinking to only put 6 people on this? Like, that's a bad decision.
Yeah,
and
there was a lot of people playing this thing when we started.
Yeah. And they knew how popular Classic was. Did they not think this was going to get a lot of attention? Like, why would you put only 6 people on a team? And I mean, the answer is like, because they don't care. They don't care. They just want to make a buck. New Blizz, Active Blizz. It sucks.
Yep.
And so it just like they ruined it. And I'll explain how they could have fixed it in the final GPA. But like.
Essen just doesn't bring the complaints. He brings solutions to the table.
Well, something.
Which is a rare thing in any organization. To have somebody who's actually offering solutions instead of just whining.
Well, we can do both.
I don't think I got your grade.
Oh, I gave it an F for not fun. Fail.
Sarah, other.
F.
Oof.
Blizzard broke the game again with incursions. Rude sounded fun in theory, but actually kind of sucked, and were a huge pain in the ass to get. And then everything else you guys have said, like everything just got outdated super fast, so it didn't really matter. I feel like I was wasting time doing something that was going to be pointless the next day or week anyway. Yeah. This is also the main category I put incursions in, so I really should have given it a garbage, but I just gave it an F.
Cheap garbage.
Regular F. Would you like to modify your grade to a triple F minus?
Yes.
There it is. 2 triple F minuses.
Whoever, and like as Alec was talking about, they were listening to the community and like things weren't working and then they were fixing it. Who could have possibly thought incursions were going to be a good idea? Like,
Yeah.
no, just no. And
Again,
good
like,
job,
no
good
test-
job breaking the whole thing, guys.
Yeesh. Overall GPA. Overall GPA. Honestly, I gave it a B. It seems a little high to me, but it's such a solid game. And Season of Discovery, I feel like, was a really good idea. Even if they maybe did steal it from somebody else, but I feel like it was really solid, and WoW's just well done. And after playing Lotro, after playing EverQuest 2, that has like these gaping gameplay holes that are just not like WoW, there's stuff and you're like, oh, that's super annoying and dumb, but like Lotro like freezes on you in the middle of a dungeon, just like and you're just like and then there's EverQuest 2, which doesn't even have stats anymore. Like, yikes. So like it's got to be better than that. So
Once again, our bar is so low, you
So
guys.
low.
It's on the floor. Like,
You know what? Now, Sarah, you're gonna have to manage Drax's MMO dating profile.
listen,
there's
one of-
nothing to
one of,
monitor. It's
one of the greatest joys of my life is the fact that I'm married and I don't have to date anymore. I
Thank
thank God every day for that. I gave it a B because I gave EverQuest 2 a B minus, and I feel like I like EverQuest 2 better because I like EverQuest better. But if I'm really being honest with myself, I think overall WoW is slightly better game in terms of just like being complete. So
especially if you take the what is it called? The Great Leveler out where Blizzard breaks the game. And who's the people that break EverQuest?
Darkpaw.
Darkpaw.
Darkball? Yeah, so both of them have these giant, like, big brother oppressors hanging over them that just break the game. If you take these things away, you have 2 good games left, but they just come in and mess everything up.
Dorkachu doesn't like me anymore because it's like WoW better. It's not that. No, it's not even the like WoW better. I don't want to give WoW a better grade than EQ2, but I have to. So
Because you still have stats.
I still have stats in WoW. It still means something. I cannot get over that in EQ2. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Pretty dumb.
Can't. It's an absolute deal breaker for me. Absolute. Ari, go.
I gave it a B minus. I mean, it is a good game. You have fun playing it. There's not a lot of games out there that will keep your interest enough for you to come back and play it again once you get bored of it. But it's not a forever home. It's not the game that's gonna hold you. It's not like EverQuest was back in the early 2000s at all. Um, but there are things to do, and there are people to do them with, and I mean, it's really
That's
low
that bar,
bar.
you guys.
Is that what you put
Really
on
low
your
bar.
dating profile as well? No.
Pineapple.
Yeah, that's all I got. It's an okay game. It's good. It's good. It's not great. But
Mr. C says MMO nowadays are the cheap hotel in Vegas that you stay at for a weekend, have fun, and then get the hell out and go home.
that 100% sums up.
And check
exactly
yourself
what I
for
was thinking.
things.
Check
You
yourself.
have to go to a doctor's
Even
appointment after.
Wait, even if you didn't partake in any of the things, you still have to check just to make
I was gonna
sure.
say, you got to check for bed bugs and bugs that you caught while you were in bed.
Oh boy. All right. Is that like overall GPA?
3.2.
Oh my.
What?
There's always one.
There
It's a
is.
C. It's a C.
That's a B minus. A's are 4. B's are 3. C's are 2. Thank you, Drac. Thank you.
What does that make? Okay, never mind.
So I actually, contrary to what Drac said, because he did not preface this when he handed us the report cards, failure on the part of the department chair or the dean, but I did in fact average all of my letter grades out.
It's
So
been that way for the last 4 MMOs. You don't
Who said
remember?
that? Wasn't it on the graphic?
Yeah.
No, it's not on the graphic. It should be though.
Nope. So nope, I very much gave it the average of all of them. But honestly, a B minus, really close to being a C plus, actually fits what I feel about Season of Discovery. I think it is a B minus. I do feel like it was close to a C plus. I know I said I wasn't doing minuses, but there we go. I did a 0.2, so it's a minus.
There you go.
I think in terms of the overall experience, it was new and it was exciting and it was fun. But eventually the relationship just felt like it dragged on and got less fun and less exciting. And I just think it's time for WoW and I to part ways. So I did cancel my sub until the War Within releases. When Blizzard comes back with something new and sexy, then we're gonna spend some time together again.
Welcome Bronson to the chat. If you don't know, Bronson is Monkey Pit Art. He's a developer for VR. He's currently doing the art for the Elementals. So if you haven't checked out his stream, make sure you go check him out. Give him a quick shout out. Bronson, we're doing our grading stream. This is when we after we play an MMO for a while, we give it some grades. So we're having a good time tonight. And there's Mujin. What's up, Mujin? Essen GPA.
Mujin's typing in numbers and it confuses me. I don't know how numbers even work. GPA. I'll do the reveal first for once. I gave it an F plus. The plus is for the raids because the raids were very good, and that's all. The biggest F for me is that it had so much potential that was just ruined, and it could have been so much easier with so much less effort. Honestly, all they had to do was add the runes, make more dungeons into raids, and then sped up the timeline with more loot and more experience. That's it. But they tried to get all fancy with all
never breathe the thought of incursion into the world.
Yeah, they tried too hard. They tried to we're gonna all these special quests and these wild call quests, and nobody asked for any of this. It's just just take the same game, change the classes a little bit, and add more content.
And give us blood.
Ta-da! You're done.
You know what would have made it better for me now that I'm just sitting here thinking about it? What if they would have put skill drops on boss mobs and dungeons?
Yeah.
They did that.
Drac,
they gave us books.
Stay tuned in the coming weeks if the ideas of skill drops from bosses appeals to you.
It's too late. Sorry.
I'm just saying you might see that in the future.
I know there was like one or two, but I mean like the majority of
I'm
them.
not talking about Season of Discovery, sir. I
I
am
know
foreshadowing.
what you're talking about. All right. We'll get to that in a minute.
Oh.
Sarah, close the book on WoW Season of Discovery.
Oh, I will close that book.
Oh,
So-
can I interrupt really quick, please?
Yes.
No.
I don't want
No,
to.
go
I
ahead.
don't want to book into Sarah,
How
but I do want to
dare
say
you.
this. So I want Sarah to be able to close the book after I say this, so that I'm not like tacking on at the end.
Now I'm gonna slam the
Just say
book.
it.
Perfect. Slam it hard on me. I will say this: that
Pineapple.
incursions 100% poorly implemented. Right? Absolutely. The idea they were going for, while poorly executed, was a cool idea. There's actually a story going on in Season of Discovery that a lot of people didn't even pay attention to, and a lot of people missed, and it wasn't really well implemented into the game. And so they just barely touched on it before they added the incursions. And when they added the incursions, actually were starting to expand that story. And that's why there was this, you teleport into sort of this alternate reality of the same place. There's like supposedly going to be new content that is going to be added, and this was the incursions were sort of the foreshadowing into that series of events that are going on in the larger meta plot. So from a lore perspective, there's a lot of good attempt.
It's
From
not a good
execution-
attempt if it's a
from
complete
execution,
failure.
It's trash, and I know you're going to trash it, but I didn't want this stream to go without acknowledging that there was at least an attempt to add new lore to the game, no matter how poorly it was executed. I felt like it'd be unfair to leave that out. That's all I wanted to do.
It's a complete failure if nobody knew it existed, and then when they did introduce it, it totally broke the game.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's just like communism. It's great on paper, guys. Looks great.
There we have it. WoW lore is like communism.
And then
Wow.
and the store within comes out next, guys. Who's ready for the store within?
Or within.
Oh,
Okay, everyone shut up and let me do my grade.
Sorry.
Okay. The verbal grade that I gave it was a moist, steamy D.
Ooh.
And then
You had me at moist and lost me at
when
steamy.
Zelic had to go give a numeric
Nice.
score, then I asked
Pineapple.
No.
Pineapple.
Then I asked ChatGPT what that numeric grade actually would be, and ChatGPT agreed with me that it is still a moist, steamy D. That is the actual calculation of my scores. So
Now, did ChatGPT come back with the words moist, steamy, D?
no, that's the flair
Screenshot.
that Sarah added, of course.
Okay.
So the only reason it's not a lower grade is because of the A that's hanging out in grouping and rating. Otherwise, the score would have been way lower. Yeah, you guys took what could have been a really cool concept and a really cool idea and incursioned all over it.
Well said. Well said. All right. Well, that wraps it up for World of Warcraft Classic Season of Discovery. I had a fun time. I have a fun time with all these because I just like playing with everybody. Even if the MMOs are awful, which I don't. For this one, I didn't feel like it was awful, but sometimes they are. So now it has come to the time where we have to figure out what we're going to do next. And so before we get to that, there have been a few announcements that if you haven't been paying attention to the Discord, that we need to preface this upcoming announcement for. So if you don't know, Theric is taking a step back from content creation. So he is not going to be streaming anymore. He's not going to be doing the rewind. Daimos and I are actually taking that over. First one's going to be this Saturday. And that's going to be Theric's last rewind for the foreseeable future. So make sure you tune into that. You're going to want to see Theric's last rewind. But to go along with that, that has opened up a lot of space and lots of new interesting possibilities for our stream teams. So one of the things that's happening is that I'm the only Did I say something naughty and I don't even know it? Nobody,
No,
no,
Chad is being naughty.
nobody pineappled me, and I don't know even what I said. So I'm just gonna keep going. I'm basically the only person left from the original MMO 101, which Minus started way back in the day, and it's because we're changing things up. We have decided that we are going to retire the MMO 101 and the MMO 201. We're going to start some different groups, and they're going to be called different names. So this will be the last episode of the 101, which is kind of sad because it was what I think 6 years ago when we started doing the 101, and our very first game was Guild Wars 2. And the first night that we did Guild Wars 2, Joppa logged on, was in chat watching us play Guild Wars 2, and he didn't say a word till the very end, and he said, "So it comes to this." That's all he said all night. And so I feel like this is good. I feel like we've covered I went back and counted we've covered 25 different MMO / RPG type co-op games over the period of the last 6 years, which is a lot. So sometimes you just gotta switch it up, and that's what we're doing. So speaking of switching it up, I give you Zelik for the plan moving forward.
Oh boy. Don't let me make plans. They're going to end up in chaos if you do that. You see the pineapple behind me here, right? It's up in flames. We take the pineapple, we're going to burn it to the ground, and we're going to just all the rules are out the window. School's out. We're here for the summer. So with that, we are launching a new stream. We wanted to keep a throwback kind of tie to the original, to our origin, right? So we have the MMO 101, the MMO 201, but our education's going to be a little bit different. We are taking the reins off. We are no longer holding back with our commentary. No holds barred, no punches pulled. Not quite to the level of After Dark, but we're setting pineapples on fire. And so we are starting a new stream. We're going to move to Thursday nights in the same time slot we've been in here on Tuesday nights. Drac will not be joining us, but Aaron Ellis, Sarah, and Essen and I will be going forward on Thursday nights. And with us, we have invited Feasty to join us. We have had a ton of fun having Feasty showing up with our raids for us, filling in as we need for the group. He's a lot of fun to hang out with. He's a lot of fun to chat with. And we're really excited to bring him on board to this new program that we are going to call Chaos Theory. So to kick off Chaos Theory, I'm actually going to surprise Essen. I did not warn you that I was going to do this. But I'm going to let you explain the first game that we are going to use with Chaos Theory. So, Essen, surprise!
Okay. I could do this. So, the old Blizzard used to take good games and make them great by polishing the hell out of them and really making them user friendly, and the graphics were good and they're not buggy. Like, that's what they did from the beginning. They release games when they're ready to be released, and not a minute earlier, usually a minute later. Naturally, that's gone away. As you see in Season of Discovery, they added the runes, but they didn't make that up. They actually took it from another game, but instead of making it better, they made it worse. So we'll be switching to the game that they stole the idea from, and that game, they are making it better. And Zelik, you were saying how, they made patches to this game like pretty constantly. The people who make patches to the game that we're going to play make major patches to the game almost every day. You can see it in the chat log and their patch log. Every day they've got updates to the game, fixing bugs and making improvements to the game every day. And they release huge long videos where they announce entirely different new changes to the game, which make it so much better. And they even make things that are like, hey, did you get screwed because this spec is not any good anymore? Well, guess what? There's a new vendor you can talk to, and he'll refund all your stuff if you had an old spec. So now you're all caught up. So even if you explore a bad spec, like you're back in shape again. So they're very thoughtful. They listen to the community. No, it's not a Wrath class zero. It's better than that. It is called Ascension, and they've got 2 servers. They got multiple servers.
Wait,
The
wait.
2 main servers.
It's a WoW based, like it's WoW, but
Is
it's
a
not WoW.
It's a WoW private server
hmm
where it is run better than retail, and that's not an exaggeration. These guys, they're professionals. They've got a decent sized team. It's way bigger than 6. I know that. They're
Yeah.
hiring more people all the time. It is. I don't know. It might be a different Ascension. Just play the game, but the WoW one is not. I've been playing it for years. Honestly, I used to raid on the old server, or their retail-ish server, which is okay. So there's two main servers. One is
yeah.
it's
Let's
classless.
focus on the Elune server and not worry about the other ones for right now.
Okay, so the Elune server, yes, it is classless WoW. So you log in and you are a hero, and you get to pick 4 abilities you start with from a list of starter abilities, and then as you level up, each level you gain a new random ability, and every 2 levels you get a new random ability and a random talent, or rather, you get a new talent every level, and whatever. The point is, you get random
Summarize.
talent and random abilities. And you can get to re-roll those abilities as you go along too. So you can build up to what your perfect class is. And there are 0 restrictions on that. So you can make wildly competent builds or wildly stupid builds or however you want to play. You can play as DPS or support or healing or anything you want. You can merge Fire Mage with Fire Shaman. You can do Fire Mage and Fire Warlock, Frost Mage and Frost Shaman, Holy Paladin with Holy Priest. Like, you want to focus on like spell classes and types instead of actual classes themselves. So
I'm going to cut in on you real quick here. So
yeah, please.
To simplify this for a lot of people, they've taken WoW and turned it into a deck building game.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so you get ability cards and you get talent cards, and you are using the deck building aspect of the game as you go. They've also taken the WoW client and modified it, not the client itself, but the back end, and modified it as well, so that they have original content in the game. It is not just the dungeons and the raids that you know. We're going to hopefully get to explore some of that content. They've added mana storms, which are a lot like rifts. They have also, when you get into like mythic pluses have entirely new mechanics. So they're entirely new fights, kind of like what Season of Discovery did when they replaced the 5-man dungeons and turned them into 10-man raids. That's what they do with the Mythic Plus. Then they have trials, which are a whole separate set of mechanics for that kind of thing. They have a hardcore mode that you can opt in and out of on the fly, not in the traditional sense of hardcore, but hardcore in the sense of you gain higher rewards. You can get dungeon drops in the open world, but you are PvP flagged and you drop gear and loot unless you insure that gear and loot, in which case then there's a financial cost involved with it. So higher risk for playing, higher reward for the loot side. And there's a whole lot of other aspects to this game that are, some of them are hybridized from games of the past that have been amazing. Some of them are original content and original ideas. And so we thought it would be really fun to try out this Ascension server. Ascension.gg is the website for it if anybody is interested in joining us. It is free to play. They do have a cash shop. That's how they fund their developers and things like that. But it also, with this deck building role, is a prestige system, so that you can actually use the cards that you've collected with the deck building for your next session or your next leveling grind, if you will. The pace is a lot more like retail pace than it is classic pace when it comes to the leveling. So it's been a lot of fun to start to just kind of dip our feet into it. I think, I don't know, Sarah, Ari, y'all have been quiet. You gotten to dip your toes in it a little bit. What are your feelings going into this?
Keep my toes out of your conversation. I was going to say mouth, but that just sounded way, way wrong. Keep my toes
Okay.
out of the conversation.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
You were socks on in the sleeping bag.
That's right. So it's like you take the base of WoW, like the game that you know, and then you like completely change it, and like it mutates into like this completely different game. So it has a lot of the good like structure of WoW and the things that you love about WoW, like Blood Elves. But then it's
Yeah.
also you play it very different. So yeah, we've been having a lot of fun, and I'm excited to keep trying it out. Ari, where are your toes?
You don't want to know.
Also not in my
That's a
mouth,
no
just
for
to
me,
be clear.
dog.
So it's very RNG based. So if you're a lucky person, you're gonna do great. If RNGesus hates you, like he hates me, you're gonna end up with a random, ridiculous crap, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun, and I am going to be terrible at this game.
We do have a question from Nerds. So Nerds is asking, I'm still going to be streaming. So the Thursday stream, the Chaos Theory stream, Zelik will be streaming on the Static Groove Live channel. I will still be doing the After Dark, and Daimlos and I are actually picking up the Rewind. Theric and Desrin are both taking a step back from that, and so Daimlos and I are actually going to pick that back up, and we are going to make that a weekly event again. So every week there's going to be a rewind that Daimlos and I are going to do. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the Discord. Daimlos and I have been blogging, and so that we didn't, when we started the blogging, we didn't know that this was what was going to happen, but we've been putting out a weekly blog, so we kind of figured that was our warm up for then doing the rewind every week, because we figured the rewind has been a staple of the channel since the very beginning, and we want to keep that going. I will still be doing the After Dark on Monday nights, and also I control the channel, so I get to hop on and stream whenever I want. So,
You know, and I will say that
yeah,
too.
absolutely.
One of the really nice things about what we're going to be doing in Chaos Theory, because of the flexibility of the Ascension server, is if you're at least level 10, you're going to be able to group with us no matter what level we are. And so if we have a hole to fill and somebody from the community wants to fill it one week, or maybe I don't know anything about the raid content, but maybe there's even some scaling and some way to do that and expand that out. But Drac, all he'd have to do is spend a few minutes getting a character to level 10 and can jump on the stream anytime he likes.
Yeah.
Guys, there's a very important poll up.
Very important.
Uh-oh.
Ascension High. Also,
So,
I
Drac, is the rewind going to still be only about Pantheon, or are you rewinding like all MMO news?
The rewind will be Pantheon centered, but it's not going to be Pantheon only. So that we're still going to, for example, I'll give you a little beans for this week. There are 15 hours of Joppa Ranger streaming over the last 2 weeks that I listened to every single second of. And then I got all the information out of that 15 hours of streaming, put it on a Word doc, and we talked about what I thought the most important parts of all the things Joppa said in his 15 hours of streaming. So that's a huge part of the rewind this week, right? We cover Rangers in depth. So if you
it'll be the best rewind stream ever.
Probably.
To my beans emoji.
Right. So if you don't have time to watch Joppa stream for 15 hours like I do, then you should definitely listen to the rewind.
And he was playing Scar, right?
Right. But just to add to that, like the original idea when Theric and I took over the channel from Minus was that neither of us have enough time to make the channel full time, right? We both have families, we both have lives, we both have jobs. Like I can't stream or do video projects more than a couple of days a week. So the idea was always, well, I'm going to take a couple of days of the week. Theric's going to take a couple of days of the week, and that's how we're going to build this channel. Is we're going to do it together. Now that Theric is taking a step back, we're bringing on some more shows. This is just the beginning of new shows. There's at least 2 more in the works that could possibly happen, and we are going to get the rest of the community, the rest of our streamers that you know and love, are going to be doing other MMOs, other games, and we want a well-rounded week of streaming with different hosts and different people, because that's the vision of Static Group Live, right? Friends don't let friends pug. And so we're going to have static groups in all different types of games and all different types of MMOs. And
it's going to announce the competition, since everybody's going to be in a different group, right?
Yeah.
Which group is the best?
which is the best. So yeah,
Who's your favorite group?
Well, the answer is there's only one that has flaming pineapples.
That's right.
right.
And we already have
We
an
also have all the
amazing
ladies. Sorry, that
first
popped in my head.
time experience. There will be some cherry popping on the first Chaos Theory stream.
Oh my.
Oh my.
What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm scared now. I'm nervous.
So just to let everyone else know too, there's lots of good stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. Saturday, I've already mentioned, that will be the next rewind. That will be Theric's Swan Song. He'll be diving out and also talking about the Ranger. That thing is at least going to be 90 minutes long. It's a long one. So dig in for that. Monday, the After Dark. That is going to be, Bronson is going to be joining us for the After Dark on Monday. That's also
Nice.
Summoners and Rangers. That will be the first week that they're live. So can you imagine Bronson and the rest of the After Dark crew running around with level 1 Summoners for 2 hours? That's going to be the After Dark on Monday. It's going to be hilarious. Thursday will then be the launch of Chaos Theory. So you've got to tune in for that, because that's going to be crazy. And then, let me make sure I get this right. Yeah. And then Friday, the 28th, we are going to be playing Monsters and Memories.
Yeah.
This group right here, Monsters and Memories. We're gonna, with Feasty, because it's 6-person groups and Monsters and Memories. So we're gonna be playing Friday and Saturday, a big chunk of the day, Friday night, and a big chunk of the day on Saturday. We're gonna play Monsters and Memories. So we got some Pantheon, we got some WoW Ascension, we got some Rewind, and we got some Monsters and Memories all coming up in the next couple of weeks. It's gonna be huge. So stay tuned for all that. Is there anything else we need to say?
So we had a question about EQ2 in the chat.
EQ2, yes. So I don't have anybody currently that's streaming EQ2, but I'm definitely going to play some. And also, there's people in the channel that are definitely going to play hard and raid EQ2. So I'm going to stream it as I can in off hours, and I'm going to play in off hours, just as I can. In the Discord, there will be an EQ2 channel, and there'll be people in there looking for group. And here, let me put the Discord channel in the chat here. Where's my Discord button?
Are we going to change we're changing our channels too? Like it still says MMO 101. Are we going to change? We're going to change all that stuff.
We'll be switching all that stuff up. So yeah, so if you want to do EQ2, I know that there was somebody in there that's forming a guild. I'm not personally forming a guild, but we'll probably join one. But it's going to be, the Origin server launches tomorrow. So yeah, if you make sure you hit our Discord. I know that there's some folks over on Nathan's Discord. We kind of commingle on the EQ stuff. So yeah, hop in, do EQ2 with us, but there's not going to be a set stream for it. Any other questions?
Mr. C also mentioned that he will be streaming tomorrow night.
Yeah, tune in to Mr. C tomorrow night. We'll give Mr. C a shout out. All right.
Oh, great. Early bedtime for Sarah tonight?
Yeah, you guys get out early. All right. Well, I appreciate
That's really
it.
why she wanted us to speed up our commentary tonight.
Mhm.
She wanted everybody to give those 2-word answers so that she could get out of here.
Sarah was pushing the envelope tonight. Oh, it's great.
C minus next.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Everyone have a fantastic night, and we will see you for all these exciting streams over the next 2 weeks. Everybody wave bye to the people.
Bye-bye.
Bye, people.
Bye.
Bye, people.